iPhone 16 Pro versus iPhone 17, which should you buy? Let's find out in this video. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and I've been getting this request quite a bit to talk about, should I just buy an iPhone 16 Pro since it's kind of like around the same price I can get now as a new 17, or should I buy the new 17? So we're going to use the 16 to talk about this. I will be having the Sage Green on Friday, so stay tuned to see the unboxing and stuff. But I wanted to answer this question for those of the people that had that request. So if you go ahead and click pre-order here, you can get this thing now. These seem to be still relatively in stock compared to some of the, Pro Maxes and stuff like that. But you can get it in Sage, Mist Blue, you can get it in Lavender, you can get it in white or black, and you start at 256 gigs for $7.99. You go up to 512 gigs for $9.99, so definitely quite a big bump there if you want to go to 512 gigs. But overall, that base storage should be enough for most, as it's doubling the previous version. And so, but if you think about it, they kind of got rid of the middle option. So we kind of just have these two options. And if you want that extra storage, you're going to definitely pay up for that. But people are wondering, the 16 Pro, that phone does have kind of similarities to the 17. So should I just go with that one from last year? We'll talk first about the design and the body. If you want a phone that feels more premium when it comes to the titanium rails, you'll still want the 16 Pro. It'll be the better pick for you. It definitely has a nicer body in terms of the metal material right there. And it is going to have the triple camera, which signifies this is a pro level phone. Definitely lets people know that's the higher end model. You will be getting camera control on both of them and USB-C. However, what's really a benefit to the 17 model, though, is going to be this phone's, if you go to the AR, you can kind of look at it here under object. But this phone is definitely a bit lighter, than the iPhone 16 Pro. So if you do want a phone that kind of feels like the same screen size, but you want a lighter device than this right here, you'll want the 17. I'll pick this one every day of the week in design when it comes to the lightness. Now, when you look at the body of this phone, this is a different purple this year versus last year's, but this body to me is probably slightly more clean looking, because if you look at the cameras here, the base model phone definitely has, I think, a little bit cleaner look than the triple camera, and the new phone has a plateau on the Pros. So to me, the 17 is one of the better looking phones of the lineup, with the 17 Air to me being the best version. Now, when we talk about durability, the 16 is fine to talk about it using that phone because it does have the same aluminum build. The 16 Pro is going to be the one you're going to want to go with for durable edges because of the titanium. But if you do want yourself a better ceramic Shield 2 glass on the front, then I would go with the iPhone 17 here, because this glass on the front should be a little bit better for scratch and drop protection over the iPhone 16 Pro. However, you're making a sacrifice there. Either you go with the titanium edges or you go with the stronger display. Me personally, I would go with the stronger display over the titanium edges, because most of the time you're going to be rocking a case. And if you're not rocking a case, honestly, these don't really feel that much different. Like when you hold them on the edges, they just look different. They don't really feel different though. Like they're both like smooth metal. Yeah, they do feel lighter on the base models, but the titanium is more like a durability thing versus, to me, a feel thing, because the 17 is going to feel pretty much similar on the edges when you're holding it, but in a much more comfortable, lighter form factor. So that's how I would make up my decision there if you were having a hard time making that decision. Now, when we talk about the display, I'm going to say go with the iPhone 17, and here's why. They reduced the bezels here just a little bit. It's hard to tell, but these bezels on the 16 are a bit thicker than those on the iPhone 16 Pro. If I do zoom in, let me back it out just a little bit. If you kind of look here, you can see the reduction in bezels are pretty noticeable up close on these two phones. And what that does, it just makes it feel like a more immersive screen on the iPhone 16 Pro. You're going to get that here for the iPhone 16 as well, or the iPhone 17. So you'll definitely You'll want to go with the 17 for the next reason though. Not only are you getting them same bezels, but a better increase over this is going to go to 6.3 inches. You're getting the 120 hertz finally that we've been wanting on the 16 on the base model for a while. The 16 Pro already has it, so you're not really winning there. But the number one thing that the 16 Pro doesn't have that the 17 is going to give you is a brighter panel. So this panel on here is actually brighter on the 17 over the iPhone 16 Pro. So it's going to go 3000 nits peak. So overall, and it has the same pixels per inch. So overall, the 17 is going to be the better option over the 16 Pro for the display. That's really shocking to say because usually the Pros are always better, but they have the same XDR 120 Hz OLED and same pixels per inch, and the 17 gets brighter. So the 17 is going to be the better option when it comes to display. Now let's talk about performance. Now for the iPhone 16 Pro, all year long, it's been a very, very strong performer. I've done multiple speed test comparisons, and we're going to test this A18 Pro against the A19 Pro here coming very shortly. I'll probably do first with the Max phone, but 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the base model 17 has 8 gigabytes of RAM as well and has an A19 chip. That's also a 3 nanometer chip, just like the A18 Pro. However, the difference is that the iPhone 17 is giving you just a little bit more newer CPU. So I would probably pick it for the CPU, but I would pick the iPhone 16 Pro for the GPU. It is 6-core GPU. The iPhone 17 is a 5-core GPU. That's still better than some of the older 4-core GPUs and some of the older iPhone base models. So that's still an upgrade. But if you game, go with the iPhone 16 Pro. If you want better CPU performance for your daily tasks, go with the iPhone 17. It should be maybe slightly better, if not very, very similar. We'll have to see in the benchmarks, but it is the newer A19, so we'll have to see how that fares, but that's how I would decide there in performance. Now, when it comes to storage, the iPhone 17 is the better pick once again. Here's why. 256 gigs for $799. Now, when the iPhone 16 Pro came out, this phone was like $999 for 128 gigs. This is a way better value, probably one of the best values in storage for the phone price that Apple's had in years. This is the phone I think most people should get, the iPhone 17. And most YouTubers are going to tell you the 17 Pro Max is amazing. Well, yeah, because we're in the tech and stuff. But for most people, the 17 is such a great option because that 6.3 is not a small screen size. I've been enjoying this size. It never felt tiny. It never felt too large. It's kind of like a sweet spot. But if you want just a little bit bigger, you could consider the Air. But the 17 here is really going to be a better deal here if you're thinking about which one to buy when it comes to the area of storage. So in the area of cameras, I would get the iPhone 16 Pro if you want to zoom very far, because it is going to be able to zoom further than the iPhone 17. And that is the main reason I would get it. Also, if you do want to do professional level video, you could get close on the iPhone 17, but the iPhone 16 Pro is going to have more dedicated pro features. So I would pick this one if that's what you want to do with your phone. Both of them will have a camera control, so it'll be very easy to go ahead and click that and get into the camera. No problem. And with iOS 26 here, they both have this nice, simple interface. I will say though, that if you're going to be doing front-facing video, social media, recording yourself, anything with the front camera, go with the 17. It beats the 16 Pro, mostly because they improved not only the megapixels, but they added this feature to allow you to flip in the landscape and do other things. Real simple, getting you wider frames than pretty much any phone out there. It's a big deal for the front-facing camera. So not only did they finally go up in the megapixels on the front, they also gave you new features, which I actually didn't expect. That one actually threw me for a loop, that ability to frame wide-angle shots on the front camera without leaving the portrait mode. So definitely I would say 17 for that use case scenario. But for video pro users and anybody who wants to zoom further, the 16 Pro, pick that one if that's a priority on your list. Now, when it comes to the area of battery life, I'm going to have to say go with the iPhone 17. And the reason why is while the 16 Pro has been a very solid battery life phone for me, never really gave me any issues, the 17 actually has a larger cell and it has a very efficient CPU, same RAM, so it's going to get substantially better battery life, maybe an hour or two, maybe an hour and a half. And that, to me, that's the difference between the phone not making it in a tight situation and making it. So larger battery, newer efficient chip. This one, not bad. It's still very good, the iPhone 16 Pro. It's not a disappointment. If you get this, you're not going to be disappointed. But if you want just a little bit more for a brand new price of the price you'll get a 16 Pro used, 17 is the better value. Once again, pick this one up. It's going to be a better deal when it comes for the battery life as well. One of the main features that stood out for the iPhone 16 Pro series, and since the iPhone 14 Pro series, has been always on display. You can finally do that now because of promotion that was added to the base iPhone 17. So if you do want to go ahead and get yourself a 17, you will have the ability to do always on display now, even on the base model. So you don't have to go with the base model and then be missing all these features. You finally are getting almost everything a previous Pro was offering, sans the zoom lens. So definitely the always on display is a great deal. Now when it comes to colors, this is really a personal preference. I will say that the 17 will give you colors that are more popping, they're more vibrant, except for your neutral black and white there. This one was a pretty popping color from last year as well on the iPhone 16. However, the 16 Pro, any Pro series phone, is always going to give you that more just very simple colors. You're getting desert titanium, white titanium, black titanium. So you basically are getting these more muted colors, definitely on the Pros. They do look classy and premium, very luxurious looking, but they're not really like in your face or anything like that. So if you do like a more vibrancy to your phone, go with the base 17. It's the one you should buy of these two. So my final verdict, they are extremely close, and I don't even have to have the 17 in hand yet. This is a 16 we're using to compare here, as it's basically the same phone with some upgrades. But I don't even have to have it here to tell you that the 17 is the better choice overall for about 90% of people. And I explained a lot of the reasons why, but this is the best value in years for the base model, mostly because you're getting most of what the 16 Pro already had. And it basically does everything this phone does, except for a couple niche features, like some raw features with the camera and some extra zoom, maybe a little bit of heft and titanium if you really love yourself titanium. Some people will say, well, Nick, the titanium is a much nicer material. You're going down back to cheap aluminum. They finally gave us one of the best metals, and now we're going back to that. I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's a phone, like you're probably going to put it in a case. It's going to be fine either way. We didn't have issues with aluminum phones before. So I don't think it's a big deal. The actual usability in the day-to-day, the 17 to me, for the price, is the better pick of these two for most people. The 16 Pro, though, I do think is still an amazing phone. It's been my main phone for the past several months, and it's still a great use option. And if Pro phones is what you want, 16 Pro is a great pickup still. And if you found yourself resonating more with what I discussed about the iPhone 16 Pro here, its benefits, then pick that one. But if you find yourself resonating more with what I discussed about the base 17, pick that one. I will say one thing though, you really, really need to look closely before we get up out of here at how much you need this zoom. If you are going to buy the 17 and you are wanting pretty long zoom and you get the 17, you're going to have some buyer's remorse because they don't zoom anywhere near like a 16 Pro. So do keep that in mind. That is probably the number one factor. And second is probably like the look and the build if you want the triple camera and stuff like that. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned. I will be doing a speed test between the 16 Pro and the base 17 on the channel, so stay tuned for that. I'll also do the direct comparison when the phone comes. We'll talk more about my impressions of the device, but I wanted to get this one out for you guys. For those of you who are still in the pre-order process, you're thinking about it, or you're about to buy it, or you already ordered it, you don't know if you want to keep it, you want to switch, what you want to do. Get your comments, questions in. We're only a couple days away from the official launch of iPhone season. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.